New copper bulb is going to make huge redstone changes to the game, plus tons of new blocks and of course slow mode in Minecraft. Hello there, Ray here. All of this and more in the latest 1.21 snapshot. Make sure you're still subscribed and let's get into all this craziness. First up is the chiseled copper. The stuff that looks really cool, has a unique design in it. And just like the other coppers, there is the copper variation, then the exposed, weathered, and oxidized versions as well. To get these, all you need to do is craft 2 slabs of whatever variant you want. And just like other coppers, they can oxidize over time. You can prevent this by waxing these forms, or you can even use the axe to deoxidize them layer by layer. There's also these new blocks here which are called copper grade. This is the same type of grade you see in real life where there's metal ones with low slits, stuff like water through. And you can make these by putting in 4 copper blocks and that will produce 4 grades. But using the stone cutter, you can make 1 copper block into 4 grades. And you can also make 4 chiseled copper out of 1 copper. Copper grade looks so cool and has properties just like glass where it's transparent and lets light through it. Things that are stuck inside of it won't actually suffocate, although you do get this really weird look when your head's inside of it. I'm not sure if this is intentional. Redstone can't go inside of it, and hostile mobs don't spawn on top of it. So it's like copper glass. And of course we got the copper bulbs, which are the coolest thing in the game. That's because when you give them a redstone signal, they will turn on, but you can remove the redstone signal and they will stay on. And they will only turn off when given another signal. This is really nice to builders so they don't have to have like levers or anything powering it in order to have like a redstone lamp turn on. But it also has a really cool redstone property, and that is the signal can be read by a comparator going out the back. So one that's turned off produces no signal, but one that's turned on has a redstone strength of 15. This is really nice for logic because we can send a redstone signal over to here. And this will make a T flip-flop, so now this is turned off. And if you send another redstone signal, it will turn back on and stay on. This is often known in Minecraft as kind of like a button turning into a lever, because despite pushing the button, you can make the signal on the output be just like a lever. Now before we could also do this, but it was considerably bigger. You can see this will do the exact same thing. When I power this redstone block is now over here. And this is where we would have a signal of on. And if we would press it again, it would turn it off. So now we have the same feature, but much smaller, plus we don't have to use all these pistons. And just like the other copper, it can oxidize over time, producing different looks. And they can also be waxed if you want to keep them looking a certain way. Also notice the ones that are powered will have a little red dot in the center of them, so you can easily tell if they're being powered or not. Which is really cool is they can actually be powered and also not be on at the same time. So you can make a wide variety of different looks. And for builders, what's really cool is the different oxidized levels produces different amounts of light. So a copper one will produce a light level of 15, where the exposed will produce 12, the weather will do 8, and the oxidized version will only do 4, just in time for Halloween, so you can have those spooky low light level looks. Those of you that are really in tune with the different types of light levels will know, despite there being tons of different light sources in the game, ranging from light level 0 all the way up to 15, there wasn't actually a light level of 8 that you could acquire in survival. And one of the new copper bulbs actually has a light level 8, meaning that we now have a block that produces every single light level in survival. But they are not actually a full block, meaning that redstone signals can't actually go through them, unlike most other solid blocks in the game. But if you're inside of it, it will suffocate you just like if it was a solid block. So it's not like it's a piece of glass, which gives it a one-of-a-kind property. Now, one thing that I wish they would have added is that different oxidized levels would produce different redstone signals. Currently, the comparators will always put off a redstone strength of 15 if these are turned on, no matter how oxidized they are. But they can make these even more useful for redstoners by giving them different redstone signals, kind of like we see with other things that work with comparators. Do you think the bulb should have this added redstone feature? Well, it's really cool that we actually got 2 things related to redstone, the crafters as well as the copper bulb, and they also work great for builders. I'm going to be designing more cool things with this new redstone mechanic, and you can join in the fun on the server, so check out my Twitch live stream after this video. You can find it in the description. Now they also came out with doors and trapdoors, which look really cool. You can imagine how this would look really nice on like an old industrial build. And like most other doors, they also have it so you can see through the top part. The same kind of like X pattern is throughout a lot of the different copper pieces, and we also see it in the trapdoor. And if you're wondering if these doors work like wood doors or iron doors, they actually work like wood doors, where the player can open them up, where iron doors can only be opened up using redstone and the player can't actually right click to open them. but you could also use redstone to open them up. But oddly enough, they don't actually have the same features as the copper bulb, which would be if you power it, it would stay open, and then if you power it again, it would toggle to being closed. And this is actually different than what they showed during Minecraft Live. There's a clip of the breeze shooting the players, and the breeze activated the trapdoors, essentially giving them power. But then when that supposed power would have went away, you would expect it to flip back to being flat again. But instead it was left open. That could just be that breeze will just toggle stuff, so if something is down, it'll be up, and if something is closed, it'll be open. But it also apparently does this to the button in the clip. That means the button would be up and then it would be down, but the buttons will then come back to being up again. So would this actually hold down the button forever then? Most likely not, but then we'd also expect it to close the gates once they're open. Either way, I really wish they would bring this mechanic to copper doors and trapdoors, because then you could pulse them with something like an observer, and instead of them just flipping open and close, every time they got a pulse, they would toggle between up and down. But the same mechanic can also be used when working with the new bulbs. So you can turn any update into a on or off switch. Do you think trapdoors and doors should act this way? Now to craft the copper bulbs, you will need to use 3 copper blocks, a blaze rod, and a redstone dust. So make sure you build one of my blaze farms and have plenty of rods in preparation for 1.21. And be ready for all the new copper stuff by building one of my copper farms, which I'll also have linked down below. Now when it comes to crafting iron doors, it only takes ingots in order to make 3 doors. But for the copper door, it takes entire copper blocks just to make 3 doors. So I'm not sure if this will change. And it's actually even worse for the copper trapdoors, where the iron trapdoors only takes 4 ingots. And the copper trapdoor takes 6 copper blocks just to make 2 trapdoors. Do you think this is too expensive? Hopefully they change this to cheapen it up a bit. We also got the brand new tuff blocks shown during the Minecraft Live event. You can find plenty of tuff naturally in the bottom of the world among all the deep slate in these little blobs. They came out with the new stairs, slabs, and wall variations, which is great for builders so they can blend it with the cobble look. They also came out with a polished variation of tuff. You can also make those into stairs, slabs, and walls. This is done like other polished blocks where 4 normal ones will make 4 polished. They also came in with the brick variation. Definitely great for like old castle looks. They almost have a little bit of green in them for like moss. And they're shaded so the bricks within them really pop out. You can make them using 4 of the polished blocks. There's also Chiseled Tuff block, which have these really cool looking swirls within them. Here it's like not quite symmetrical, almost like a snail shell. And on the sides there's like these 2 of them kind of going inwards. And they also came in with Chiseled Tuff bricks, which look really unique looking, with little squiggles at the top and the bottom, and a very tile-like top that almost looks like a reflection. These are crafted using the slabs of either the normal tuff or the brick tuff. And you can of course use the stone cutter to make all these different variations easily. What do you think of all the new tuff blocks and copper blocks? Speaking of Halloween, bats got an update. Oh my goodness, they look so cute with their huge eyes and big ears. You can even see the little pink nose. Apparently a lot of models got updated over the years, like Vex and Alay, but the bats never got updated, so they were overdue. And not only has their texture changed, their actual model and animation has changed, and they look so cool as they fly around now. They no longer look like such inanimate objects. Now the hitbox size for the bat looks like it is about the same as before. You can also see what they look like when they're hanging upside down. Really cool. I'd say they did a very good job. What do you think? You can now feel like an Enderman when throwing Ender Pearl. Listen to this. You got the cool boom noise, just like the Endermen do when they teleport. They added in a new tick command. This command was available prior in different tick speed mods, so you can change how fast you want the game to process stuff. For every interval the game does stuff, it's called a tick, and there's normally 20 of these per second. That's what makes the game seem really smooth. It's like 20 frames per second. But using this command you can change it, so I can make the game go slower so it only processes 2 ticks per second. So if I go ahead and hit enter, you can see our clock here is going in like slow mode. Notice the player is also going slow mode. Everything is going in slow mode. But this command is mostly designed for administrative and debugging, so it's not actually accessible to everybody in the game. You need to have elevated permissions, so administrator or above. So it's not available on like command blocks or data packs by default. This is really cool because there's a lot of things in the game that just happen so fast, like 20 times a second. You're not going to be able to tell when stuff happens. But by slowing down the game, you can diagnose problems, especially in like redstone or any type of build where stuff is occurring really fast. This is also great for people that like to do task-assisted speed runs. This is where you essentially play the game in slow mode and then you just click perfectly every time the game gives you opportunity to do it. And these aren't like normal speed runs, they're mostly just to see what are the actual limits that you could do something in. And there's some really crazy speed runs out there. And now instead of having to use different tools to do this, they can now do this in vanilla Minecraft. Now besides making the game slower, you can also make it faster. So now I'll try to do 200 things per second. And this is where your computer might not be able to handle this type of stuff. You'll eventually get to a point where your computer will crash probably. You go too fast. You can see how insanely fast everything is moving. The character themselves doesn't actually move any faster. Now besides changing how fast the game does stuff, you can also do the query, which will tell you a lot of information about the current thing the game is running normally. It tells you the tick rate per second, tells you the average time per tick. So every time the game's trying to do one of those processing cycles, how long does it take it to just do one of them? So it only took 9 milliseconds for it to do it, which is good because it could be as slow as 50 milliseconds, and that would still be acceptable. 50 milliseconds is your 1 second divided by 20. There's also percentiles, so like 50% of the time it's running around 6 milliseconds, and the mass majority of the time, 95 percentile, it's running around that 8 milliseconds. They also have a 99 percentile, which is the real extreme, or once in a while it's running at 214 milliseconds, which is considered slow and bad. They also have a sample of 100. There is limits on this tick rate, so I can only accept numbers as low as 1, so you can see how slow that is. Up to 1000, which they said could crash your game, and you can see that makes quite a bit of difference how much more my computer has to struggle in order to try to make the game run so fast. Now if you are having trouble running the game at normal speeds, you could purposely lower it down a little bit just so your computer can handle it better, along with running like lower settings in here and third-party mods that improve in performance. Now there's also another setting called tick freeze. This will actually freeze everything in the game. You can see all of a sudden my computer is having a really great time at running at this speed because there's like essentially nothing to process. The player themselves can move around, anything you ride can also move, but everything else will just completely freeze in place and not move. So you can see exactly how something is happening, which is great for diagnosing problems. And once frozen, you can then use this other feature, which is called step, where you can have the option to make the game go forward in time by 1 tick. So T stands for tick. You can see every time I increase a tick, the game will operate, and you can see stuff like this comparator, how it will turn on and off every 2 game ticks. This is how we get names like 4 game tick clock. You also autocomplete to move it forward 1 entire second for freeze again. You can adjust these to whatever numbers you want, which is really good to see exactly what's causing a problem. There's also tick step stop. So if you would happen to have some type of thing going on and you want to stop it, it'll go back to being frozen again. And if you want to unfreeze it, you can go tick unfreeze, and this will put the game back to how it was before. But what if you want the game to just run as fast as possible without potentially crashing your computer? And that's where the tick sprint comes in. This will try to make everything in Minecraft go as fast as possible while still being able to process it all. So let's go ahead and set the sprint for 1 Minecraft day. So everything's just going to occur just as if 1 Minecraft day is going by. So you can see the sun is moving across the sky nice and fast. And then once it's done doing its sprinting, it will tell you a little bit about how long it took in order to do that. So on average, it was running 130 ticks per second. It normally only does 20 per second. So the game was able to run quite a bit faster than normally can. It only took 7 milliseconds to process each of these ticks, which is a very short period of time. Now, if you do have a sprinting going on, you can stop it by using the stop command. This will put it back to how it was before. This is really great for testing really complicated builds where there's a lot of stuff going on at once, such as here in my automatic mob head farm that also produces piglin heads. We'll have a video on this soon, but in the meanwhile, I've been testing it, trying to make sure all the minecarts that get shot out this dropper here will always make it down to the bottom. And by having the game run really fast, we can test this thoroughly. We also made some updates to the jigsaw block, which is this crazy block for creative builders, which is a bit like structure blocks where it can place in different structures and then connect them with other structures nearby. This is how you can build things look natural like villages with tons of different houses and paths while also making it look natural. They added in selection priority for them as well as placement priority. Data packs got updated to version 22 and resource packs got updated to version 20. This added in everything new with this snapshot. They fixed this bug related to comparators and crafters, which I showed in my last video, and that's if the comparator gets a signal of something that went into the crafter, but then immediately got pushed out, like this bone turning into bone meal. The crafter still thinks there's an item inside there, yet there is not, which is making what's called a CBUD, or a comparator block update detector. And if I place a block beside it, that's why I got its name, because it will actually update and then remember there's nothing inside of it and go back to the way it was. So now we don't have to worry about this problem anymore. And my simple bone meal converter into bone blocks will now be smart and turn off when it's done. They fix it so that you won't accidentally disable slots by right-clicking with your mouse or by using different key inputs. So now only the left mouse you can use to disable or enable slots. Trying to place items in the output slot here on the crafter would actually just delete them. So there I just deleted a whole stack of redstone, which you don't want people to accidentally delete like all their diamonds, so that was resolved. They also fixed this inconsistent pixel here. You can see there's two dark pixels right here. If you look on the opposite side, you see there's a light one and a dark one. When crafting something with the crafter, the subtitles were past tense. Notice it says crafter crafted in the past, when all the other subtitles are in present tense. So they did this for the crafter as well. When it's crafting, it actually changes its pixels. This is so it looks like the mouth is opening, but this was also changing some pixels right around here. So notice that when the mouth opened, it also turns a couple other ones dark for no reason at all. So now those have been removed. But they didn't fix this bug here to do with hopper updating order changing sometimes when you unload the chunks. So if I would come over here and this is my piston auto crafter, we just turn it back on. This time it's going to produce a piston correctly, but the next time all of a sudden it doesn't. That's because I left this world and then it came back into it. So you can see the redstone is supposed to be here and this cobble is supposed to be at the end. So this cobble, which was in this barrel here, and the redstone, which was in this one, when they got released by the redstone dust, which should both happen at the same time, they both should go down to these hoppers and then slowly make their way over to the right. But instead, this cobble here went down to the hopper and got over here before this redstone even went downwards. That's how the cobble made it all the way down to here. So hopefully they fix this bug by the end of the snapshot, and if you want to help get it fixed, you can upload it with the link in the description. If you would come in and name your arrows, and you would actually shoot them and then try to pick them up again, they wouldn't keep their name, and instead would lose all their NBT data. But now they'll keep their name. They fixed several bugs related to buttons not working, grammar mistakes, slow processing on certain buttons. Now come play with the new blocks along with me over at my Twitch livestream. And you can very easily have your very own Minecraft server just like I do. By using the Bicep hosting link in the description, or code RAY, you'll get 25% off. Plus this helps me out. You can get creative mode immediately on my testing server as one of the perks of being a tier 2 or above supporter of mine. I will see you all over there. Bye bye.